Rúben Amorim has his first back-to-back league wins as Manchester United boss, and what a place to do it. So let's break down exactly how Amorim's side beat Liverpool 2-1. Before we dive into the tactics, let's start with the team sheet, because that told us a lot. An informed Sesko was left on the bench, and Yoro, United's highly rated centre-back, was also dropped in favour of Harry Maguire. At first glance, that looks surprising to many fans, but Amorim explained in his pre-match interview why it made sense. He said that Harry Maguire has a lot of experience, and they, meaning Liverpool, have a lot of crosses also. He gives us more power in set pieces, and that is really important in the Premier League nowadays. Long story short, Maguire offers a greater aerial presence in both boxes. From the first whistle, United's approach was clear. This game was going to be built on second phases and transitions. United went long, yes, but the target wasn't to win the first ball, it was to control the second. Most of the long balls were directed towards Van Dijk's side, and that looked intentional. Mbeumo will press onto Van Dijk, not to win the header, but to simply disrupt him, and make sure his clearances were loose and awkward, not directed easily to a teammate. And right behind that duel, United was set up to pounce on the second ball. Once they recovered, they could spring quick attacks into that fluid, mobile front three. United's opener, after just 70 seconds, almost summed it up. Van Dijk wins the header, United collect the second phase, and it's Mbeumo who ghosts into the free space on the blind side and finishes it first time. Now, we've seen this before from Van Dijk, a lack of urgency to sprint and recover position, and maybe that's what Amorim saw too. It wasn't about beating him in the air, it was about disrupting him and dragging him into areas where United could exploit him in the second phase. Amorim didn't just rely on Mbeumo's work, there was structure behind it. When United went long from Lemens, one of the centre-backs, either Shaw or De Ligt, would step forward into the midfield, and that sort of movement changed everything. It would give United a numerical edge around the second ball, sometimes outnumbering Liverpool's midfield by 2. So even when Liverpool won the first contact, they were surrounded and boxed in immediately. Later in the game, Amorim added another small variation. Instead of all three forwards staying high, 2 of them, usually Cunha and Mbeumo, would press Van Dijk and Konate, while the third, often Mount, would drop deeper. Adding a narrow fullback like Dalot and Ahmad tucking inside, and United consistently had 4 bodies ready to attack the loose balls. And that's why the second phase game looked so clean and consistent. It wasn't random long balls, it was calculated territory play, built around structure and timing. The other major tactical factor was United's defensive shape. Amorim switched from his usual 5-2-3 to a more compact 5-4-1, and that change solved a lot of problems. In United's 5-2-3, United's midfield pair often get isolated, leaving gaps either side of Casemiro and Bruno. But with Mbeumo and Mount dropping deeper into the wide midfield line, Liverpool found it harder to create overloads in them wide areas. It stopped their fullbacks and wingers creating wide overloads because Mbeumo and Mount were more connected to the wingbacks. But equally as important, it blocked access into Szoboszlai and McAllister between the lines, because Mbeumo and Mount were also better connected to the midfield too, offering a more solid defensive structure. And although Liverpool was successful in moments, we have to feel that had United went with the 5-2-3, Liverpool would have found much more space and overloads much more often in them wide areas. But as well as denying space, the 5-4-1 offered an even greater advantage. It gave United a huge transition threat. Even more so than the 5-2-3, despite Mbeumo and Mount being in deeper positions. Because by defending deep, they lured Liverpool's fullbacks, Kirkers and Bradley, much higher up the pitch. And the moment United regained possession, they could break into those vacated wide spaces. Now that's been a familiar issue for Liverpool this season. Once you can drag Van Dijk and Konate wide in transition, they can look vulnerable due to the high positioning of the fullbacks, particularly Kirkers. Now while United's defensive and transition play was excellent, they still struggled when it came to control. They completed just 68% of their short passes, and this gives you an idea of the lack of control they had in possession. Some of Liverpool's best chances came when United tried to settle into longer spells of possession. Gakpo hit the post in the 21st minute after a regain and a counter-attack from their own half, and Mo Salah missed a chance midway through the second half, again in a moment where United tried to establish some control in possession and Liverpool counter-attacked.
I think we didn't play well with the ball, just certain moments. We lost a little bit the composure in the second half. Not a very well played game from our part, but a great spirit, and that is the only thing I can ask.
So in the end, it was a performance to be proud of. United had a game plan and executed it very well. Create chaos with long balls and overload zones to pick up the second balls. Deny space to Liverpool's most creative players either between the lines or in wide areas. And be effective and opportunistic in transition. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more tactical deep dives every single week.